Hi, I'm Effie and this is What Effie Reads.
I was lost, but you helped me find my way. Tainted by a desire, 'cause I was scared to face the truth. You pulled me out from my anxiety.
Today I'm going to be going over all of the books that I've got on pre-order for 2022. At the moment, my plan is to not put any more pre-orders in before the end of the year. So this will be like all of my pre-orders for this year. But most of these books are for the first half of the year. So possibly I will do a second one of these videos later in the year. A lot of these books are already out, but I'm kind of making this as a bit of an accountability so I can look back on it at the end of the year and see just how many of the books that I pre-ordered I've actually read. Because I'm a little bit chaotic, this list is in no particular order, but I will pop images and release dates on screen. I have some in front of me, but there are a few of these titles that the release dates keep changing, so I will just pop them on screen as I'm talking about them. So first up, we've got Laika Charm by Elle McNichol. This is the third book by this author, and it seems to be taking a slightly different turn from her previous works, as it seems like it's going to be a fantasy series. Essentially, this story follows a girl called Ramya Knox, who is the only one that can see the hidden magical world around her, and the hidden folk give her just one message: beware the sirens. I've previously read Elle McNichol's other books and absolutely adored them. They were both 5 stars, so I'm very interested to see what she does next. The next book we've got is With This Kiss by Carrie Hope Fletcher. This is a title that keeps changing its release date. I think it was originally meant to come out last August and now I think it's out in April this year. The concept of it sounds like it's going to be sort of similar to what I hoped the Raven Boys would be, in that not really. It feels kind of Raven Boyish with the whole kisses and death, but it is quite different. It follows a character called Lorelei who, when she kisses someone, she sees how they're going to die. And she's never sure if this is kind of a precognizance or if her kissing them is what ensures their destiny. So she just hasn't kissed anyone until one day a man comes along that she wants to kiss, so she kind of decides to take the risk, I think. The next book I've got on my list is To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. It has an incredibly long blurb that doesn't really give much away about the story. It seems to be a book that spans 3 centuries with recurring themes, and like you touch into each century. I absolutely adored A Little Life, so I'm very interested to read more from Yanagihara, and this book sounds like something I'm going to really enjoy. Next up, we have House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the sequel to House of Earth and Blood. It follows Bryce Quinlan and Hunt Athalar. In the first book, they had to team up to try and get to the bottom of a series of murders, and in the second book they make a pact to just get to know each other and not further their relationship until the winter solstice. And whilst that's going on, they end up sucked into the world of the rebels. Next up, we've got Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. This is a book about a hidden coven of witches who protect crown and country from magical forces, but the greatest threat is going to come from within. It sounds like it's going to be a really interesting read, and I do like a witchy book, so I'm very much looking forward to this one. Next up, we have Gallant by V. Schwab. This has been pitched as The Secret Garden meets Crimson Peak, but quite honestly, V. Schwab is one of my auto-buy authors. She could write a cereal packet and I'd want to read it. Next up, we've got Amari and the Great Game. This is the sequel to Amari and the Night Brothers, where a young girl ends up being drawn into the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs after her brother goes missing, and she's determined to find out what happened to him. The next pre-order that I've got is actually a book that I read at the end of last year, but is only just coming out in the UK this year, and that is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. This story spans over, I think it's something like 400 years, and it follows one family as they go through the trials of life. And it was just a really it was one of those books where you just get sucked into the story, and it's a really enjoyable journey to go along and explore these lives with these people. Next up, we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care. In this book, we're following Delilah Green, who left her hometown of Bright Falls behind and hasn't looked back until she's persuaded to return to photograph a wedding for her estranged stepsister, and she might just end up falling in love. It kind of gives me very much like cheesy Hallmark movie vibes, but regardless, I feel like I need more sapphic romances in my life, so I'm really interested to see if I enjoy this one. Next up, we have How High We Go in the Dark by Sokoya Nagamatsu. This seems to revolve around a deadly virus and a group of survivors in the Arctic Circle. It has an eclectic cast of people, including a scientist who is getting a second chance at fatherhood by fathering a pig. It sounds like it could be a really intriguing read. The next book I've got is A Storm of Sisters by Michelle Harrison. This is the fourth book in the Widdershire Sisters series. It follows three sisters who have some magical items, and they end up getting wrapped up in all sorts of curses. It's a really magical story, and the dynamic between the sisters is really beautiful to read about. The next book I've got is Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. This is the same author who wrote Love in Colour, a series of love stories featuring cultures from all around the world. I could be wrong, but I think every love story is BIPOC. I really, really enjoyed the anthology, and I'm interested to see what her first novel's like. This is a story that features the fake dating trope, where you've got a smart and savvy student radio host who agrees to fake date the very boy that she warns people on her radio show not to date. The next book we've got is Yinka, Where's Your Husband by Lizzie Damalola Blackburn. It sounds like it's going to be a really funny story as a single 31-year-old from London sets herself a mission of trying to find herself a husband before her cousin's wedding. I think it's going to be chock full of Nigerian culture, and I'm just really excited to read it, and it's got such a snappy title. I couldn't help be drawn to it. Next up we have Wahala by Nikki May. This follows a group of 3 women living in London who all lead very different lives, and their lives are kind of shaken up after an old friend comes into town, and it seems like she's trying to sort out their lives, but in fact she's taking a wrecking ball to them. And in the process of dealing with this friend, they're also faced to come to terms with a past crime they were involved in. It seems like it's going to be a really darkly funny story, and I'm interested to see where it goes. I've heard pretty good things from the people that have read it so far. Next up, we have In the Seeing Hands of Others by Nat Ogle. This follows a dialysis nurse dealing with the aftermath of being sexually assaulted and the kind of ongoing impact that has in her life. It's told in a really unique way through mixed media, and we also get perspectives from the man that assaulted her. But this is a book that makes it incredibly clear that this assault did happen, no matter the lies that the man who assaulted her tries to spread. It was really interesting to see the 2 sides, and the way that Karina, this young nurse, is slowly putting the pieces of her life back together. As you can tell, I've already read it. It was one of those that as soon as it arrived, I had to read it straight away. Next up, we have Chivalry by Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran. This is a graphic novel that tells the story of a elderly woman who happens to stumble upon the Holy Grail in a second-hand shop. I was a big fan of Snow Glass Apples. It was one of my favourite books of 2021, and the fact that obviously it's Neil Gaiman, but it's also the same illustrator, has got me very excited for this release. The next book we've got is Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Jiran J. Zhao. This is the same author as Iron Widow, which was my favourite book of 2021. This is a middle grade story where a young boy is haunted by an Emperor of China. In this story, we have a young boy whose gaming headset is possessed by the first Emperor of China. So it seems like it's going to be an exploration of Chinese history, and if it's half as good as Iron Widow, I'm going to absolutely adore it. And the final 2 books I've got on my list are Cirque du Freak Omnibus Volume 5 and Cirque du Freak Omnibus Volume 6. These are the manga version of the Saga of Darren Shan, and they're bind-ups of 2 volumes. So these will be the final volumes to complete my collection. So that is all of the books that I have on pre-order for 2022. Let me know if you think there's any that you're surprised haven't made my list. And until next time, Bye.
There's a place